Welcome, Erica.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
We're honored to have you on here.
Yeah.
I am thrilled to be here.
You just spoke at the Women's Conference of Florida. We heard you speak. It was amazing.
Amazing. And I love the Bollywood dance. In the beginning.
Yes.
And that's an amazing way to start a meeting.
Yeah. I mean, I've been a keynote speaker for 10 years, but so much of the time I'd walk into the room and it would be 3 p.m. in the day and everyone had been sitting, they were exhausted, they were tired. And we don't just think with our minds, we think with our bodies. And so years ago, I started to experiment. I said, what could I bring that's me, that's truly Erica? And I tried it once. I said, I'd like everyone to stand up and learn a Bollywood dance move. And I realized how much people loved it. And then I did it again and I did it again. And then I started to do it twice, like I did today at the beginning and the end. And I realized, again, people don't remember what you say, what you do. They remember how you made them feel.
Right.
And dance gives us a different feeling.
Absolutely. 100%. And that, like, I'll always remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And also during the conference, you were talking about connecting digitally, which obviously in today's world, it's a whole new world for a lot of us. The past 2 years, just being thrown into this craziness. And you created a book, or you have 2 books. And I want you to share with the listeners more about this digital world, how to have that connected IQ or
yes, connectional intelligence.
Yes.
Ooh, yes.
Tell us about
So research shows that up to 70% of our communication is our nonverbal body language, the pacing, the pauses, the gestures, the tone, the handshake, the lean in. But when we're communicating digitally, the majority of that has disappeared.
Right.
But here's the reality. Body language hasn't disappeared in the world of Slacks, emails, texts, video calls. It's just transformed. And through my research, what I discovered is that we now infuse what I call digital body language, which are all the new cues and signals we send, whether we know it or not. Things like the choice of communication medium. Did we choose to call, to set up a live meeting, to email? These are not trivial decisions. They have different meanings and intentions.
Right.
How carefully you wrote an email to give people what they need to make it not super long or super brief and unclear. Even simple things like response times. Did you respond in 2 minutes, 2 days, 2 weeks? People make meanings out of this. Right. Emojis, exclamations. And so what I really sought out to do was help people build a common language when body language is no longer present. And that's not just during the COVID-19 pandemic. That's now anytime, anywhere. When we're texting our kids, when we're communicating with our colleagues that are traveling that day, it's the new language of leadership.
So what do you recommend? Because I always analyze every text I send, and I'm probably sent too many emojis than I should.
Yes.
Too many exclamation points.
Right.
So what do you like? What's a good medium? What do you recommend?
Yeah. Well, how do we handle all the confusion and anxiety that can come up with the lack of tone and body language in digital communication? So first, when we receive a communication that is confusing or ambiguous, maybe from a boss saying, send me this report now in all caps, or, where is this ? We wonder what the second question mark is for. First, assume the best intent. Check your bias. Remember that up to 50% of the time, tone is misinterpreted in digital communication because we can't read those facial cues, whether someone's on the verge of tears or excited. Number 2, ask for clarity. Don't be afraid. If it's, 3 reply all emails, pick up the phone, switch the channel, or just really be direct. Can you share what you need and by when? Sometimes we have to remember that clarity is empathy today. And sometimes we're all struggling. We don't know what to share. And I think if we're on the flip side of it, if we're sending messages, remember to choose to be clear, not brief. Don't be hasty. Be thoughtful, not rushing an email. It's not going to get you ahead. Being thoughtful and giving others what they need is right. Saying, no, I'm not going to send this text. I'm going to call them. Or we're going to wait. We're not going to send 15 reply all emails. We're going to have a live meeting and talk about this through because it's complex. And last but not least, check your bias. Are you a digital native who thinks everything can be done virtually? Or are you more of what I call the digital adapters who need that in-person connection? And try to choose at least 3 mediums and have variety when you connect with people so that you're not just assuming everyone will share in one medium when they find their voice in others.
That is great advice.
That is. I like your your advice on switching,
Yes.
right? So if you're in an email and you're not sure, pick up the phone,
Yes.
switch that communication device.
Yes.
I like that.
And, you know, sometimes that's not possible,
Right.
right? Sometimes someone's traveling or on the road and you can't. So don't shy away from just responding back, saying, I'm not sure what you mean. Like, do you need this or this? Even just the visual design of our emails, I like to say, is a new signal of executive presence. Like, did you send like a low context brief email that's confusing to a client? Or did it have bold underlined headings? Did it get to the point? Like, this is a new signal of confidence in some ways. And what I love is it kind of flattens the playing field. In a traditional setting, there's a lot of gender biases against women: voice pitch, tone, how tall you are. These things shaped who got heard, who didn't, who seemed professional, who seemed confident, and who didn't. But in some ways, email and these digital tools flatten those traditional gender biases.
That's interesting way. Yeah.
And it can enable women to find their voice even more. I found that sometimes I find my voice more speaking virtually to a group where it's a lot of older, especially white men who, you know, I'm a different voice in the room, but it's less about how I look and it's more about what I'm saying and my ideas.
So just a curious question.
Yeah.
So now that we have all of this digital, you know, ways to communicate, like there's so many different things. There's like Slack and Teams and all these different things, and you still have texting and phone and email. Do you feel like with the current society, how they're going with remote, and maybe some of them are coming back into the workplace, but, you know, do you think it makes a difference being in person now that you have all these ways of communicating?
Well, I think our digital technologies and how we can connect have changed the meaning of what an in-person meeting should be now. You know, if we've all seen that cartoon of, you know, the meetings that could have been emails, like we were always doing that. And I think this gives us all an opportunity to really ask ourselves, what did we long for when we weren't meeting? So how will we make these in-person meetings matter? Start with an exchange, a water cooler discussion, give people time to share their stories, get everyone's ideas, not just the same three people that always used to talk in those in-person meetings pre-pandemic. And that's the magic if we create it. And so some things don't need to be in-person meetings anymore, and some things really should be. And I think this gives us an opportunity to be intentional about it.
Right. Do you feel like videos will kind of take the place of in-person in some cases?
In a lot of cases, we're seeing teams where they don't want to travel all the time and they don't want to commute times, even if they're local. So let's talk about what really is actually just as effective virtually and what should be in person. Maybe we need 1 or 2 days if it's a hybrid team in the office, but we all come in the same day. At the beginning, the week before, we decide what meetings do we want to have in person, a brainstorming meeting on a whiteboard, a new hire joins, and we want to welcome them in the right way. You know, it's someone's work anniversary or something's going on. We come together. But if we're just doing status updates, like let's not waste all this time in commutes. Like as busy women, we all feel like our time is valued when other people value it. And, you know, last but not least, I think let's be more creative. So let's have pre-work before those live meetings so that everyone thinks about their ideas. Let's record stuff that we don't need to be in person. And let's remember when virtual is actually better. Things like an update where you want that equal playing field of everyone in boxes. And you want to use the chat. You want to use a virtual whiteboard for group sharing, or half the people are not in the room and half of the people are. So then you need a hybrid structure where you have a remote host and you have a live host. And when the discussion starts, you start by having the remote attendee share to remove your own proximity bias.
I like that.
I love that advice. And I love the advice too that you gave during your speech about basically setting the tone up front. Like if you're paying attention and not multitasking, we can get out of here 10 minutes early.
Yes,
I love that. Yes.
Set it up, like remind them of that. Otherwise they'll be on their emails.
Here's the
they're like,
carrot.
okay, this is not my topic.
Right.
It's so funny because you wouldn't be checking your emails and texts if you were in person. In a
No,
meeting.
that would be so rude.
So rude.
Right.
So why do it on a video?
It's just easier,
Right.
right? It's just right in front of us, you know, just like when our kids are in front of us while we're working.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is a moment where we're going to build entirely new rituals. And we need to get feedback from each other. We need to not assume everything's going to just work and keep trying. After meetings, say, okay, what could go better next time? And make it an agile improvement model versus just this is the way it is, or this is the way we used to do it.
Right.
I love that.
Yes.
And we have your book here.
Yes,
Great.
I
I'm
look
so
forward to reading it. The
excited.
digital body language.
Mhm.
I think that this is going to be great for anyone in the business world learning how to navigate.
How do you lead today?
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
So thank you so much for this. I'm super excited about you moving to Tampa.
Yes, I'm going to be a
welcome.
Tampa local in about 8 weeks. I'm moving here and I'm so excited.
That is very exciting.
Go Buccaneers!
Yay!
We'll have to have a reunion podcast
Yes,
once you're actually
yes.
here again. So
Thank you
Erica.
so
Thank
much.
you.